if the answer to who is number 4 turns out to be the Pacers, and let's say they win, I think their win total in the market is like 47 games, something like that. Like, is that good enough for them to win something, any postseason award? And what the hell would it be? Because I just think, I think people are dying to give this team something, even if it makes no sense and it would violate like a bunch of historical parameters. It's almost like, well, I know we usually do that, but boy, I like Indiana. Let's give them this award. I actually kind of feel like that's where we're headed with this team, but I can't for the life of me figure out which one it's going to be. So I went through all of them. I haven't bet any Pacers to do anything this year, and so far I've been right, and I think I'm going to be right. But they like keep me up at night. Like I like do it. Like, is this going to be a thing? Like, are they going to win like 50 games and someone's going to talk themselves into kind of like something that doesn't make sense, but like got to give this team a trophy? Like, they're fun. They're awesome. They almost beat the Lakers in the in-season tournament. So they beat the Kings last night, and without anybody to win a game like that, again, sets them up to maybe have like a big second half of the season.
So I'm spitballing here. Like, I don't know if Carlisle could win Coach of the Year, only because, and I know this is not how you pronounce his name, and I don't care. I like to pronounce it like this: Daniel with Oklahoma City. Like, if they're
Dagnalt. Or Dagnall.
Yeah, but it's not as fun. Like, the way it's spelled, it should be like it should be like pronounced like in the French way, like Daniel.
Daniel, yes, of course. Yes.
Daniel. I mean, look, you spell your name like that. That's how it should be pronounced. Like, sorry, I don't make the rules. That's phonetics. So I feel like Dagnalt or whatever his name is going to. I think he's. I guess it's him or Finch, right, for Coach of the Year with those two teams. They're wagons right now in the Western Conference. So last night, Benedict Mathurin had a really great game for the Pacers and like started for Indiana in the game. And now, like, with Siakam coming in, like, Mathurin's going to go back to the bench, right? Like, what about Mathurin, who scored 25 last night? And it feels like with him, it's always kind of been like a confidence thing. When's he going to figure it out? And he's, as the kids would say, he's a bucket. I don't know if there's enough. Are there enough kind of? Are there enough shots? Are there enough shots to go around? Like, are there enough basketballs, like enough mouths to feed in Indiana for Mathurin to kind of get his? He's kind of like the first place that my mind went, right? Because I think kind of you've been saying all year that that Halliburton's like too good to win Most Improved Player. I don't know if Carlisle can surpass any of the other the top candidates for Coach of the Year. Mathurin was the guy that came to mind because I know he had a really good game last night, and like, can he keep this going for a really fun team and just like score 20 plus points a game? And is that enough to get him over the finish line?
Yeah, so it definitely could be. He would be one of the players. So the markets that I'd be considering, the one that you mentioned, Mathurin for sixth man, Carlisle for coach, and we can talk about maybe why that's a bad idea or that he could win. And then Halliburton for either most improved or clutch player of the year, just because everyone wants it to be so they'll just vote for him. And it's the second year of that award. There is no historical track record. They could just give it to they could give it to him because they decide they want to give it to him. That's why they could do it. And it's just like, is everyone just going to talk themselves into this because they're such a likable team? So I think, like, if I was going to order the ones that seem the most likely, God, like, which one would be first? So Carlisle, the problem here is, like, I think Finch is way more likely to win than Dagnall. They're going to have, like, the best record in the West. And Halliburton's the most likable player in the league. Matt came on with us a few weeks ago, said people he talked to consider him eligible, Halliburton, not Matt, for NBA Most Improved Player. There's never been a winner that's averaged 20 points a game or more the year before they won. It's usually like a mediocre player that becomes good, becomes an all-star level. Maybe that's Maxey, maybe it's Şengün, maybe it's Scotty Barnes still, but we'll see. Halliburton seems like a totally weird fit for that. But again, if the voters just decide, we're going to do something different this year, screw history, then that's what they're going to do. And Halliburton's a really likable player, but I don't get that right now. I don't know. And then you go to Clutch Player of the Year, this made-up new award. It went to De'Aaron Fox last year because he was the best player in clutch time, and he played on a team that was really, really good. Is that Halliburton? He's not playing. They haven't been in a lot of games like that recently. If they end up in a lot of games like that, I guess you could do that. Again, everyone could just decide this is what it is. And, like, you know what? He's really likable. It does. I'll just say this is the last thing. It reminds me a little bit of Josh Dobbs' comeback player of the year, where for like 2 weeks or like a part of the season, it's like, no, he's just so likable. Like, they're gonna give him something, and he gets bet in the market, and he get bet in multiple different markets to win awards. I was like, he didn't end up winning anything. He didn't end up doing anything. I kind of think that's what's going to happen here. But yeah, I think it's really interesting. Like, the Pacers keep me up nights. Why? Because I don't know what to do with them. they're an interesting team. There are other interesting teams in the East. It also speaks to, I think, something really interesting right now. We're 41 games into the NBA season. I don't think anybody knows who's ahead in about 5 of the award markets, or even like who's second or third and in what order. And we're halfway through the year.
Just on like the balance of things in the East, where Boston's rated as the best team to the point that, and I think I said this off air earlier, I look at the spread of the Celtics-Nuggets game, and I'm immediately thinking, well, someone's out for Denver. Let me go see who. Oh, nobody. Boston's just like rated this much better than everybody else, but I don't know, like Jason Tatum's their best player, and like he's great. Also, I don't know if he's the best player on a title-winning team. Mazzulla's still the head coach. I think there are some questions there. And you look at the rest of the East, right, with Milwaukee, two great offensive players, but a team that can't play a lick of defense. Embiid and the Sixers with the injury concerns. My Knicks, the Pacers, the Heat, who always suck, but then they're there in the Final Four or the Final Two. Like, how wide open, Matt? Or is it not wide open, and it's just like you think Boston kind of cruises? How wide open do you think the Eastern Conference is this year? Do you think it's kind of like last year was?
I don't think it's wide open. I think you have to respect Boston, particularly in the regular season, and you have to respect the fact that I don't think that this team loses to a team that's inferior to them, like by a wide degree, right? And especially when I say this, I mean in a playoff sense, which is the Celtics are way, way better than the Heat in the regular season, but playoff basketball, that margin narrows. I think that they're probably going to handle Indiana. I don't like that matchup for Indiana. I think they would handle probably the Knicks. I don't think that I like that matchup much for the Knicks. But when we get to Milwaukee, if they were to straighten out their defense, and particularly for me, it's the Sixers with Nick Nurse coaching and how Embiid has gotten better versus them every time out. He still loses to them, but he's gotten better at them versus them every time out. I can't put the Celtics as this prohibitive favorite. Like, well, we know the Celtics are coming out of the East. No, like there's opportunities, I think, to pick a team in the East and be like, if the matchups are right, this is the team I like. And that's kind of, if you're building a portfolio, that's what you want to do, is you want to ask yourself, if they get the right sequence, who do I like the most? And for me, like, it's not Boston, because I think that there will be times when the offense stalls out. I think there will be matchups when Maz gets outcoached badly. I think there will be times when Porzingis is missing time. So there's all these reasons why I don't want Boston on a futures market, and I want other teams, but there will be a lot of matchups where I'm going to like Boston in that futures market. So the way to kind of look at this is you got to be very careful in how you're approaching this and not go too far in, because there's a lot of inferior teams that can beat Boston, but they are better. And you have to respect that, I think, when you're looking at the value.
I'm always kind of curious. Like, you called the Chiefs game earlier this year. Kelsey was dating Taylor Swift. Yep. And he catches the touchdown. You go, like, Kelsey finding a blank space in the defense, right? Which is like a really funny line. Yes. I still remember you called a Grizzlies game a couple of years ago. John Morant has like this huge dunk. It's like, oh, it's a jawbreaker. Like, it's like a crazy call. Is it just like, the day before, an hour before, like, you got it. You're just trying to find a place for it? Or like, how much of that is spontaneous? Kind of like how the sausage gets made on this stuff.
Exactly. It's a little bit of a blend. You have stuff marinate in your head, no doubt, when you're preparing for games. But then you've got to be able to pick the right moment, not force it, and then get a feel in the game. Is this going to work? Is this going to be lame? Could this actually help add to the enjoyment of the game? I had one in the NCAA tournament this year. Pitt was in the NCAA tournament, and they had a guy by the name of Nellie Cummings on the team. And I just couldn't stop thinking about Nelly. And I thought to myself, all right, if this guy makes a big play, I might just have to do it. I'm going to have to say it's getting hot in here. And he made a huge layup in the second half. And I just went with it. You ride the wave at times. Trust me, there are many that don't connect. And you just realize as you go on and on doing play-by-play, you can't bat 1,000. But if you have pretty good instincts, you might be able to hit a double and a triple. And that's all I'm looking to do. In all sincerity, if it takes away from the game, I would never do it. I only do it if I think it really does fit in the moment.
The first thing that comes to mind for me that could impact a couple markets for next year, Super Bowl markets, maybe even like award markets and MVP with the specific player I'm thinking of. I think now, with Pierce installed as the head coach, Davante Adams getting traded to the Jets I think becomes less likely. I think now that now becomes like a less likely outcome here. My sense is, and based off everything Adam said, was that he really wanted to play for Antonio Pierce. If they had hired somebody else, that might have been Devontae Adams saying, like, I want out, like, get me to Florham Park, and I want to catch passes from Aaron Rodgers again. And the Jets could have paired, Devontae Adams with Garrett Wilson, and, like, you're cooking with gas next season with Rodgers back for the Jets. I think it's a little less likely now, and I think Adams probably, if I had to set a market right now, I think the favor would be him staying with the Las Vegas Raiders. So, at least from that perspective, a nice move for Las Vegas. And I actually think, in a weird way, this news kind of hurts the 2024 New York Jets, Ken, and their chances of winning a Super Bowl next year.